How's it going, guys? My name is Chase Farrow, and today we've got some fun stuff going on. So a few videos back, some of you noticed that I had a different rear bumper on the car that I had vented and did a little bit of cutting on. So I've been working on that as like a little side project because I wanted to build an alternate rear bumper for track days. One of the things I promised to myself was that this car would always stay a true road car. But now that I'm wanting to do more time attack stuff and get more into that, I'm finding it a little bit harder to walk that line. So what I had the idea was I'll get an alternate front end and I'll get an alternate tail end. That way I can, on race weekends, I can run the really aggressive front splitter, I can run the more aggressive tail end with the chassis mount wing, but then whenever I do my auto rallies and stuff like that, it's still perfectly streetable. I mean, to be honest, I don't want to drive 3,000 miles with a chassis mount wing on the car. So now over here is my track day rear bumper. Now the original plan was that I was going to run the old factory taillights in this bumper, and then I was going to run my halo taillights in my street bumper. My original thought was that that would be really easy. These lights could live in here, those lights could live in there, and then all I have to do is, basically unplug one, plug the other ones in. However, I didn't take into consideration with these ones, I would have to keep the factory bulbs and I would have to keep track of them. So I got these. Now, this seemed like a really good excuse and opportunity for me to update my tail lights. So the tail lights that you're accustomed to seeing on my car, those halos are going to live in the race bumper, and these are going to live in the street bumper. So these will be the ones that are on there full time, except for on track weekends. This way, whenever I want to swap bumpers, all I have to do is I basically just unplug the backs of these, put the track day bumper on, and then it's just plug the harnesses in and we're ready to go. So what we'll do real quick is we will throw these in the street bumper and then we'll see how they look. Now real quick, if you've never removed your taillights before, it's very easy. Basically it's just a little Torx and then, so 2 of them. And then once that's out, basically just unplug that guy, you'll plug the new taillight in, reverse process, and then you're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to throw in these new taillights and we'll check out how they look.
A few minutes later.
All right, so I'm putting the last taillight in, but I wanted to show you guys something. So while I was at Ace Hardware, I found these little guys right here. Basically, they're just screw caps with a little hinge on them. And I'm a big fit and finish guy. So what I thought would be cool was to basically put those capped screws in the tail lights just to give it a little bit more of a, I don't know, a nicer look. I'm not a huge fan of the exposed screws, but there's really not a better way to do this. Well, actually, I take that back. Sean, the guy that I've been working on the front breather setup, actually has been working on some infinity tails, I believe, and they don't have screws. They actually mount basically with the studs going in, but we don't have those yet, so this is what we got. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you basically how you install these. Just kind of put the screw in there, take this guy, then kind of run the screw in, then you can just close it. It's like a little door. And now, oh, that sucks. I didn't really think that through. And I know people are going to ask, basically to get them back open is you just take a pick, get it under there, and it just pops right open. So that's the taillights on the car. Oh yeah, these look nice. So what we're going to do with the other bumper now is I ordered 2 more of these bezel things, and then I ordered some more of this mesh. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to match this, and then I'm going to sandwich this between the plates inside the bumper and outside the bumper to, basically give it some mesh and give it a little bit more of a clean and polished look. Now, I'm not going to film this whole process because it's kind of tedious. Basically, I'm going to take these wire cutters and I'm just going to snip each of these little rows here and around, and then that'll be our little grill piece.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
All right, got everything cut out here. That was annoying, it was tedious, but we're ready to install this in the bumper. All right, we got them in, bezels on both sides, everything's snugged up. I did end up costing myself some time because I over tightened them and you could see basically bowing in them. So I had to shuffle them around so the flat nice ones were on the back and the ugly bent one was on the underside. But now we can basically drop taillights in here. And there we go. Still got to put the taillights on the other side. But yeah, now we have the makings of our track day bumper. All right, so a couple of days has passed. The Camaro is just about ready to go. The blow-off valve issue has been sorted. Unfortunately, the fuel pump issue, which real quick I can give you a rundown on. Basically, Tyler noticed that at idle and a low RPM, it seems to be a little bit lean. Not like dangerously lean, but leaner than it typically has been. The working theory we have right now is basically the booster pump that's we have on the ZL1 fuel pump that's in the Camaro right now is starting to kind of wear out the ZL1 pump, because that pump's been in there for a couple of years and it's just kind of running out. Now at watt and under load, it's perfectly fine. So we're not super worried about it. It does need to be addressed, but our thought process right now is, can it get through LSFest next week and then streetcar takeover a couple of weeks later? And we are confident that it'll be perfectly fine for those. But after that, we are going to have to address it because obviously the pump's days are numbered. Now you might be wondering, why did we go with the ZL1 pump in the first place? The basket on the 5th gen Camaros, at least on the 2014s and 15s as far as I know, is really shallow. So you need kind of a weird pump, and there's only a few companies that make them, one of which is Aeromotive, and they're expensive, like super expensive. I can't remember who it is. One of those manufacturers does a double pump, and it's like a $1,700 setup just for the fuel pump. So he's either gonna have to bite the bullet and do that one, or maybe go to like an inline setup or something like that. We haven't really figured that out yet. But today what we're gonna be doing is, I'm gonna take the Camaro to get aligned because Tyler is working every day straight until LSFest, so he doesn't have any time really to get this stuff done. So I'm gonna take the Camaro down, get it aligned, and then Steven either today or tomorrow is gonna come over and we're going to paint correct the race rear bumper on the Z06 so we can get the spoiler on there. And then after that, the cars are good to go. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to get the aero on the Camaro before LSFest. There was a little bit of confusion with the order with ZL1 add-ons on the front splitter and canards. Tyler got all the aero ordered with plenty of time for that build time, but they didn't tell us that the splitter was on back order, and so they didn't even start building the canards. Their plan was whenever they got their splitters in or whatever, they would build the canards, then the 2-week clock would start, which means we're not going to be able to get that stuff in time. So no front aero for the Camaro, but hopefully the alignment will give them, you know, at least a decent amount of grip. The plan was we were going to run the we're going to replace the Z28 splitter, and we were going to run the 6th gen ZL1 1LE style canards on it. ZL1 add-ons makes those, and they look sick. But yeah, unfortunately not going to happen, but they should be on there by the next track day event. So it sucks, but you know, things don't always work out. So we're going to jump in real quick and yeah, go get the car aligned. Time to cold start this thing. My neighbors must really love me. All right, just got to the alignment place. They're taking the car back right now, and yeah, we're gonna get this sorted out. I did notice right as I was pulling up, the temperature on it seemed really high in comparison to what I would normally expect it to be. So I tried calling Tyler. He's probably not even awake yet. So I'm gonna talk to him about that. It's a little bit concerning, but one thing at a time. We gotta get the alignment sorted, then we can worry about that. right, just finished the alignment on the Camaro. Shout out to Discount Auto and Tire Shop. They're great dudes. I've been getting my alignments done here for a couple of years. They're one of the only places, in fact, the only one that I can think of off the top of my head in the basically kind of like this general area, like Plano, McKinney, Allen, you know, Frisco, that has an in-ground alignment rack and does spec alignments. Because a lot of people like Firestone, they won't let they don't care what specs you want. They're only going to do what their computer screen tells them. So that's a bummer, but great work as usual. We went relatively conservative. We went -2 up front, -1.7 in the rear, because this is still a road car. I did something so stupid. I'd been sitting in the waiting room waiting for him to get it finished, and they had been working on it for a solid half hour before it like hit me all of a sudden. I was like, oh crap, I forgot to give him the alignment specs. So I had to run out there and try and catch him. Unfortunately, he hadn't fully finished, but I was like, man, I'm sorry. So I told him if he wanted to try and come out to LSFest next Saturday, which he said he was down to do, that I would give him a ride along in on the road course. So thank you guys. Shout out if you're in this area, you need a spec alignment, hit up Discount Auto and Tire Shop. There's this little hole in the wall place in Plano. You can also Google Extreme Alignments Plano and they'll pop up. So definitely check them out. But let's get home. Let's see if we can figure out this cooling thing. All right, so I'm home. The Camaro's still running warm. Even on the highway with the AC off, it was creeping up to about 230. Well, upper 220s, which I know isn't super out of the ordinary for LS's, but then once I had the AC on, it was getting up into the 230s. When I pulled into my neighborhood and I started going real slow and there wasn't a lot of airflow, it got to about 240. So I think what I'm gonna do is this weekend I'm going to try swapping out the thermostat, putting a lower threshold thermostat in there, seeing if I can track down maybe it's losing coolant somewhere. But that being said, we're gonna have to skip to tomorrow for that stuff because I've got a bunch of work to get done. And yeah, we'll pick that up then. All right, so it's the next day probably. And Steven's here. We're gonna get this bumper paint corrected. You probably remember him from last year. It was the year before last, when I had that little bit of mishap with the garage on the old house, did some damage to my fender. He was the one that was able to do that like crazy correction that, I mean, made it look basically, well, better than it did before actually. So he's going to help me restore the track day rear bumper because I paid $100 for this bumper, which was an awesome deal. But as you can kind of see here, that kind of came with a little bit of a cost. This bumper, not in the best shape. So we're not going to be able to fix all of this. And I honestly don't even care to make it perfect because this is just the track day rear end. I'm probably going to mess it up in various ways. But like you can kind of see right here, sorry, it's hard to see my screen for the light, but you can see just the bumper generally is in rough shape. Still a steal for, you know, $100, but needs to be restored. So that's going to be the goal for today. Try and get this thing looking half decent again. It was kind of getting blown out from the light earlier, but you can kind of see, like, I mean, this is substantial. I mean, this was all scratched up here. There were all these marks. You actually kind of see where the paint was a little bit damaged right here. This is hardly visible anymore unless like we're at this angle where the light is directly shining on it. But I mean, this just looks absolutely fantastic. Which, after the job you did on my fender, I mean, I'm not super shocked, but it is just, it's never gonna stop being surprising, like how, you know, big of a difference that just polishing it. And you didn't spend like too much time on it.
No, not really. Been doing this like 16 years, so it's definitely, you know, you just got to know what you're doing. You don't want to be too aggressive and all of a sudden you're burning through paint and then it's costing you an entire paint job.
Yeah, no, it looks absolutely fantastic. I'm super stoked about it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the lettering on there, the Corvette lettering, and I'm going to get the spoiler on there, but first I got to finish getting the rest of this old crap tape off. So we're going to get to that. Steven, thanks again for coming. Freaking nailed it. Oh, and definitely before I forget, Steven, you do photography.
Yep.
So your Instagram is Steven G Media.
Yep.
And you said you're going to try and make it out to LSFest. So hopefully you bring your camera.
Yep.
And it'll be good. So I'm going to get to work on the lettering and the spoiler. And yeah, thanks again, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, just to kind of basically show you guys real quick what I did. Ignore my kind of terrible cut lines. But basically, all I did was I got some T-Rex tape, and then I put it in the same pattern that I did, or that the Spoiler King does. I'm sorry, I don't know why my focus is having such a hard time right now. But yeah, same pattern they did. I just did way worse job. I've already got the center stripe on there, so now I'm just gonna throw it on. All right, it's a little dark, ran out of daylight, but it's on there. It was a little bit annoying. I had to kind of peel it up and redo it a little bit, but I've got the tape on there just to kind of hold it because it is, you know, back heavy. So the tape is basically just kind of pulling it forward. So it's like really leaning on this front tape here. I do still need to do the lettering here to basically finish off the tail, but yeah, with the tail lights, the bumper, it's all cleaned up. It looks fantastic, especially in comparison to what it looked like before. This is annoying. These have so few hours of runtime and it's already got LEDs going out. So I'll order some more, and the next time when I take the bumper off to go back to the street bumper, I'll go ahead and I'll put the new ones in. But yeah, for now, pretty happy. And the next thing is to throw the seat in, which you guys have seen me do before, and then this car is sorted and ready for LSFest. Tomorrow I will get on the Camaro and we'll get that thermostat changed, cooling system bled, and both cars will be ready.
The next day.
So this is gonna sound really stupid, but one of the things that I've been waiting for, been excited about in getting the bumper restored, is I can finally put my tow sticker on. I'm gonna put it basically right here. And so it's just gonna, you know, kind of point at the tow hook. This is my track day bumper after all, and what's more race car than having a tow sticker? And yes, I'm asking that ironically. So I'm thinking right here is a good spot. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get that on there. There we go. Actually, really, you should, whenever you're doing this, you should be pulling like this. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, time to swap out this thermostat. And on the Camaros, it's super easy because all you got to do is it's two, looks like 10, either 10 or 11 millimeter bolts. Just take those off, pull that away. I've already got the coolant draining down there if you can, you know, maybe hear it, but pull that away and the thermostat just sits inside this housing. All right, so the housing is off. The old thermostat is out. And so we have the new thermostat, and you can see over here, there's this little notch right there. It needs to line up with the little hole right here. So it is easier to do if you take the housing completely off. After you've done it a few times, you don't need to do that. But I went ahead and took it off because it only takes an extra second to do so. And I thought it'd be good so you guys could actually see that little index there. So I'm gonna go ahead, get the housing back on the hose, and bolt it back up to the car, fill it with coolant, and then it's ready for LSFest. All right, it's in. One other thing I did do is instead of putting another factory 187 thermostat in there, I went ahead and put a 160 thermostat in there. So hopefully this solves our issue. I'm just gonna add the coolant now, and then we're good to go for LSFest.
Tyler, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Having my head in the engine bay doing this, it's like doing a coolant flush while the jewelry store next door is being broken into. It's annoying.
All right, the Camaro is officially ready to go. Finished up the coolant bleed and everything on it. Had a little bit of a mishap. Burned my hand very badly. In fact, you can see kind of right there the top of the burn. Basically had a mishap with the radiator cap. Got sprayed by 230 some odd degree coolant. And yeah, had a bad time. And I was wearing a glove, by the way. So I was wearing a glove and it still burned me pretty badly. So that's gonna make driving fun at LSFest, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. Now I just need to basically swap out my seats. I'm gonna take the Evo out. I'm gonna put the Forza in. If you guys have seen other track prep videos from me, you've seen me do this before. Not to mention with time constraints and, well, my hand being the way it is, it's already gonna be tough. Instead, what I'm gonna do is Evo out, Forza in. So that's it, the cars are ready for LSFest. The Camaro's coolant system is sorted, the Z06's track bumper is on, seats in, and we're ready to go. So tomorrow we go to Texas Motor Speedway. We're gonna get our registration done. We'll be meeting up with Esteban and some of the guys. We're gonna get teched in and everything. And then after that, we've gotta run and do a couple of things, go pick up some food, drinks, stuff like that. And yeah, it's go time. So the next video coming out will basically be day 1 of LSFest, and then after that will be day 2 of LSFest. I normally try to get things all into one video, but LSFest is just such a big event that, you know, I wouldn't be able to do it justice with only a single video. So I'm excited to get all these guys, all this footage, basically get the team back together and go do this. And so this will be a little bit of a fun test run for the guys that are also going to be going down to Austin with me next March for Super Lap Battle. So yeah, until then, drive safe, throw your car batteries in the ocean. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.